ladies and gentlemen, welcome to PRL Season 8, round number 3. Tier 2 is racing at Azerbaijan today at the Baku Street City Circuit. How's everybody doing today? Should be a event-filled race today, if Tier 1 and Prem are anything to go off of. Let's get the menus all brought up. And while that's getting set up, why don't we go through our Tier 2 official standings after 2 rounds. So, while our Tier 2 current leader of the championship, Kev King, who did win both Great Britain and Austria, is not present today. It appears he had personal duties he had to attend to, so lots of points up for grabs here for anyone who's trying to make a push for P1. Hello, Polani. How are we doing? So big points on the line for people like Timgra today, Canuck, Hines, Dutch, Camo. Lots of potential points up for grabs for everyone who is not Kev King. While everyone is getting settled in, looks like we're going to be treated to our first flying lap by our man, Corky. Take it away, my man. Let's hope the traffic gets out of the way for him. I just realized Corky's pretty low on ERS. I think he flipped the switch quite early in his lap. Still should have enough to do a complete lap here. Disconnected after a minute again, Camo? Oof. Yep, you know, typical EA product, are we right? It's been a very clean lap for Corky so far. So we have a Ferrari, have a little bit of a moment in the background there. So, statistics for this race. The pole lap was set by yours truly with a 1:41.2, I believe. So that is, I guess, I mean, if you can set that benchmark, you're going to be looking very good, but, you know, unfortunately, was not a great race for me in Tier 1, but hopefully, I'm hoping that everyone in this Tier 2 race can finish the race with all 4 tires left on the car, and they can all capitalize on points, because that'd be a nice change of pace where just have no DNFs on a track that is very easy to DNF. Corky pushing it with the ERS. He's probably going to lose a little bit of time here at the end of his lap. 1:43.3 is the first lap set, and I believe we have Timgra finishing his lap here, a 1:43.7 for the AlphaTauri driver, followed by a Ferrari who is starting his lap. So it looks like we're going to keep our eyes on Grayson here. What lap is he going to put in? Ooh, looks like he had a little bit of an error. He's going to go with a 1:47.5. I expect a faster result from him. Just as I was about to watch, Sin sets a 1:46.2. I assume that will be much faster in the end as well. Next up is the Aston Martin driver of Monkey Phil. This is looking like a good lap. As we're going to see our first 1:42. No, 1:43.3 sets an identical lap time to Corky. But Corky keeps provisional pole because he set the lap first. And Canuck just sent his lap, a 1:44.2. That's going to put him net P5. Next up on the list is Jackie. He's got enough ERS. Let's see what kind of lap he can put. And it looks like Camo Banana just retired on the first lap, and Jackie is coming into the pit lane. Did not like his lap. Tac Delta, the other Williams, 1:44.8. That will put him directly behind his teammate. And as he misses the first corner, but ooh, doesn't hit the wall. Good stuff. Just turn that car around. Make sure not to drive backwards. The game really doesn't like that. Looks like we had multiple retirements. I know, the pit lane glitch. Yep, you have to be on it in this pit lane, because for some reason it allows the player to take control when the car is in the middle of its turn, getting out of the pit lane. So yeah, it catches a lot of people out. But it looks like that's going to be our first set of qualifying laps. Tafer looks like he is about to start his lap, the other AlphaTauri driver. And it looks like Grayson himself is going for another lap, so we will be able to watch Grayson and Tafer try and set a lap of himself, and Grayson who can maybe set a faster lap. And we also have Maddie, who just joined the session. He is a contender for the championship running as well. Oh, and I believe Tafer had a moment. And there's a Red Bull that's around as well. Not sure if anything occurred between the two drivers there, but Tafer does look like he's still going for a lap, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. We'll keep an eye on Grayson for now, who apparently set a purple sector 1 with net minus 5 tenths. So it's looking like a good lap for Grayson if he keeps up this pace. Potential top three time here. Let's see what he can do. Has a very high ERS too. Actually kind of surprised. Little deep through that corner, but he keeps it clean out of the wall. You can gain a lot of time through this corner. Has a little bit of a moment, but looks good either way. That is very loud, but we'll stay on board. Potential pole lap here from Grayson. Looks like he's going to miss out. May have had an error in Sector 2, but he still puts up almost 2 seconds on his original time. Puts him at P7. Good stuff. Looks like we have 2 Alpine drivers ready to go. Corky's warming up his tires, and his teammate Hines is about to set another lap here, because I think his ERS is a bit low to be starting a lap. Ooh, this looks like it may be our first 142. It is a 142.3 from Hines. A very strong lap. Almost a second ahead of his teammate Corky. We have a Red Bull currently on a lap right now. That is Jackie. Gets a lot of speed through that corner. That's going to give him a lot of time. Entering corner number 3. Corner 4. Carry all that time. Hits the curb a little bit. It's going to lose him some time. Can he carry a lot of speed through this chicane? Yes, he can. We won't be able to tell what kind of lap Jackie's putting in because he has not set a lap himself yet. Does not invalidate on that tricky right-hander. Through the castle, no contact with the wall. Keep it nice and tight. Strong throttle input out of the castle. Keep it out of the wall. Don't touch the curb here. Good throttle. Through the final tricky corner. Keeps it. Lots of speed through that corner. Don't tap any of the walls through here. Beautiful. This looks like a competitive lap from Jackie. Let's see what kind of lap it's going to be. Maybe our second 142. It's going to be close. Looks like it's going to be a 143, a 143.8. That puts him in front of the Williams pair with a 143.8. That will put him P5. Corky is up on his time by around 3/10. That would put him in the 142s, but it will not put him anywhere near his teammate. $142.8, a strong increase, but still 5/10 off Hines. And here comes Tingra, second up his time, a 142.56. Very strong lap from the AlphaTauri driver. That puts him only 2/10 down from Hines, splitting the Alpine pair. If any of the Tier 1 drivers are listening who have Maddie added, he needs another invite to the session. I do not believe I have Maddie added. I would have to check. Looks like the second AlphaTauri driver of Tafer just started his lap. We will stay on board with him. Ooh, that didn't look very good. On the curb a lot there, did not carry any kind of speed he wanted. Stronger corner there. So we have a Red Bull who is about to enter the pits. That is Jackie. Aston Martin of Monkey Phil. He's about to end his lap. And into the pits he goes. Did not like the lap he put together. Hines enters the pits as well. Corky will as well, coming down the main straight. Tiefer backs out of his lap. Looks like he did not like what he was putting down. Timgra will be coming into the pit lane as well. And that looks like that's our second round of laps finished. Apart from some outliers, Grayson will be starting his outlap soon. Sin is on a lap. Let's keep an eye on him. Coming through the tricky fast-flying chicane. Keeps it out of the wall. Looks like he's going to improve by around 2 seconds here. Only 5/10, a good improvement, but unfortunately still keeps him P9. Only 2/10 off Grayson, though. While we don't have any drivers racing, let me see if I can send an invitation to Maddie to the session. Here we go. While everyone is in the pit lane or about to head out for their outlap, we will keep an eye on Grayson in the McLaren. Kept the throttle nice through turn 1. Can he do the same for turn 2? Yes, he can. Quick on the DRS activation. Grayson is keeping the car nice and smooth through all these corners. He's keeping up speed through them. Looking like a solid lap, up almost 2/10. Hits the curb a little bit through that chicane. Here's a section where you can make up a tremendous amount of time if you get it right. Through the castle section he goes. Nothing anywhere near the wall. Keep the speed up through these two corners, and off down the straight you go. Clean run through there, doesn't touch the curb. Can he keep up the speed through here? Ooh, that curb is going to lose him a little bit of time. You never want to touch that curb. Through the final section of the track, down the final straight. That is going to be, unfortunately for Grayson, he does not make up time on his run. It looked like it was going to be a good run, but that is Grayson's qualifying over. Next down the track, looks like Corky is about to start his lap. Timgra and Hines are not too far behind. Monkey is currently on a lap right now, but he's got a decent amount of traffic in front of him. People in the castle section are gonna have to be they're gonna have to make sure they don't get in his way. Through the castle section he goes. Oh, loses the car, and that is Monkey out of the session. I'm not sure if one of the Alpines may have thrown him off there on the racing line, but that is Monkey out of the session. He was having a pretty solid lap. Unfortunate for the Aston Martin driver. We have Corky currently on his lap, 6/100ths down on his fastest lap. That is not the time you want if you want to try and beat your teammate up in P1. Can he gain time through the castle section? And that is a big no. Corky hits the outside wall, flies into the inside wall, and that is his qualifying over. And Timgra is now on his flying lap with Hines directly ahead of him. And it looks like there's a Williams directly behind Timgra of TAC Delta. This is going to give TAC Delta a beautiful slipstream. Canuck, unfortunately, does not improve his time. Neither does Sin. Grayson's qualifying, as we said earlier, is finished. All eyes are on the top two, as well as TAC Delta, who is having a massive slipstream via Timgra. What do these three have in store for us? Looks like Tafer is about to set a lap as well here. Unfortunately, a 147.1. That will not increase his position, but he is still net P10 due to the 3 retirements of Noob, Camo, and Loki. Hines is up 5/100ths. That will increase his provisional pole time by a little bit. Can he increase it any more? Timgra entering that section as well, followed by TAC Delta. TAC Delta is a 2nd and 1/10 above his time. Hines sets a lap 1/10 quicker. Here comes Timgra. Is he going to challenge it? He does, a 142.233, and that is pole position for the AlphaTauri driver. Very close qualifying. Absolute great job by everyone involved. And due to the slipstream that Timgra was able to give TAC Delta jumps his teammate of Northern Canuck to get P6. So your qualifying order, Timgra, P1. The 2 Alpine drivers of Hines and Corky take P2 and P3. Monkey Phil in the Aston Martin P4. Jackie in the Red Bull P5. TAC Delta, Northern Canuck, the Williams pair, P6 and 7. Flying Grayson in the McLaren P8. Alfa Romeo driver Sin Hero in P9, Tafer in P10, and unfortunately the Ferrari of Noob Plies, Camo Banana, and Loki G in the Aston Martin will not have set a time. That was a very good lap, or very good qualifying in general. Had a bad lap. Yeah, I saw, I had a quick look at how your lap was going, and I saw you hit the curb. I forget what corners it is. I think it's corners 6 and 7, that like tricky little chicane. And now we wait for the drivers to set up their cars for the upcoming race. I'm not sure what the weather looked like. Spectators are not allowed to see what the drivers see, so from what I'm seeing, it looks very sunny. Sadie Jackie in the race, Polani. Is that your big prediction for the race? You think he's going to be able to pull up to the front and compete with Timgra and Hines? Because I tell you what, this is a big weekend for drivers like Timgra and Hines, because with Kev King out of the race, I see. But with Kev King out of the picture for this weekend, it is the weekend of Timgra and Hines. 5 lights are out, and we are racing at Baku. Timgra got a good start, goes wide though, and he's going to get eaten up by both Alpines into turn 2. Everyone keeps it clean. Lots of cars squabbling all over the place, and Timgra has no wing, and that is a virtual safety car. I'm not sure what happened at the back of the pack. Maybe a couple of drivers spun out, caused the virtual safety car. I'll have to bring up the position changes just to see. Our biggest movers, Noob and Loki, who did not set times themselves, are already up 3 and 4 positions themselves. Timgra, a disastrous start, lost 3 positions from pole, and does not have a front wing. He is going to have to get that changed. Sadie, Jackie, Corky, and Hines are the biggest gainers at the front. A perfect start for the Alpines, a disastrous start for the AlphaTauri. The virtual safety car should be ending relatively soon. And Timgra's day gets even worse, speeding under VSC. He is going to have to pit and change his wing, as well as perform a drive-through penalty. A disastrous start for the AlphaTauri driver. As we say this, here comes Corky on his teammate. No team orders here. Hines does stay ahead, and Jackie not far behind. A little bump to the back of Corky, and that yep, that is, we caught that on stream. Unfortunately for Jackie there, he does tap the back of the Alpine driver of Corky, spinning him around into turn 1. That will most likely be a report on the Red Bull driver. All that being said, this just gives Hein almost a 3-second lead to the nearest driver of Monkey Phil, who has capitalized on the other 2 drivers' misfortunes and is now up to P2 after starting P4 and DNFing on his final qualifying run, as Jackie makes a brave move and takes out Northern Canuck. Oh my goodness, what happened there? Oh, that is a full course safety car. And for Monkey Phil, that did not... Actually, I'm not even sure. And Monkey Phil is out too. What happened to Monkey Phil? Canuck was the one that got DNF because Jackie ran into the side of him, but he broke late and crap. Oh my goodness. And just like that, two of the front runners are out. Jackie, a 5-second time penalty for ramming into the side of Canuck. And just like that, the whole order is just changed. Loki and Noob are up 8 and 9 positions respectively. Camo up to P6. Tilwick up to P6. Corky down 4 positions due to his spin. Tac Delta up to P2. What a crazy position change we have so far, and it's only been 3 laps. And you know who this works out for, ladies and gentlemen. Timgra, after having a terrible start, had to put on a new wing, change tires. He is coming into the pit lane. He is going to put on hards. I assume he's going to try and drive that the rest of the race. And looking like it, unless that pit sign disappears. Oh, and Timgra, just as he got all his penalties sorted, gets a 5-second time penalty for crossing the pit lane line. Oh, man. While everything calms down after that chaotic start to the Baku city circuit, with all his nearest competitors out of picture currently, this is looking like a very good start to Heinz's race. While everyone catches up to the safety car, we do have a little bit of breathing time. While we do, we can look at the tire situation for everybody. Although it's only lap 3, so there's not a crazy amount to look at, but it looks like Heinz, Tac Delta, Noob Plies, Loki G, Corky, Tilwick, and Sin all started the race on mediums. Camo was the only one to start on hards. Tafer, Jackie, and Grayson appeared to have started on the hards and switched to mediums. Timgra started on the mediums and swapped to the hards. Now, hopefully Timgra doesn't come in here because I believe you cannot serve your 5-second time penalty when you are under safety car, but I may be mistaken on that. That may be only drive-through penalties. We will have to see. Aha, so he can serve his penalty. So this does help Timgra. Now he puts the mediums back on. Puts on a new wing again. And off he goes. While Timgra hasn't had the greatest start to his race with this safety car, he is back in contention. And I believe I was mistaken, because it says that Timgra still has a penalty. I was correct. Timgra could not serve his drive-through penalty while under safety car. So he still has to get rid of that drive-through penalty. Just disaster after disaster for the Alpha Tauri driver. while he catches up to the field will most likely go racing this lap. If I was Timgra has to come in while the safety car is entering the pits and serve his drive-through then, so he doesn't lose a crazy amount of time. He's now caught up to the field. As we look at the order, Hines P1, Tac Delta P2, Noob P3, Loki P4, Camo P5, Corky P6, Tilwick P7, Sin P8, Tafer P9, Jackie P10, and Grayson P11. Safety car in this lap. Hines will lead the group to green. When will he go? Everyone bunches up behind him as we go through the field. And I just realized Grayson has no front wing. Not sure what happened to the McLaren driver, but he will most likely be coming into the pits as well to get that changed. As we watch our leader warm up his tires, slows the pack down. When will he launch? And he's off. Doesn't pull away from the field too much. Tac Delta has a very good run, but he is not going to make the move into turn 1. Everyone gets through relatively cleanly. Timgra did not serve his drive-through penalty as of yet. He is most likely going to do it this lap. Grayson, unfortunately, had to enter the pits to fix his front wing, and his front wing was not changed. And we have an issue further up the field. It looks like Sin had an issue. That is him down positions. I'm not sure what happened to Grayson here, but he is on the soft compound tire with no front wing from what the spectator menu is showing me. Oh, and Hines has a big snap of oversteer there. Almost lost the car into the wall. He is still out of DRS range of Tac Delta. Noob directly behind Tac Delta, pressuring him. Camo a little bit further back in P4. Corky has made up a position. He's back into P5. And we have a VSC. I believe a driver had an incident. It is Sadie Jackie into the wall with a complete wing removed from that Red Bull. Not sure what happened around that flying left-hander, but usually incidents come from that corner if people are crashing there, so I'm not sure what happened to the Red Bull driver. But that looks like it's another full course safety car. I believe we've had one VSC and 2 safety cars. That is correct, Polani. This has been quite the chaotic start to the 3rd race in the PRL Season 8 calendar. It has been relatively clean at the front between basically the top 4 drivers. Unfortunately, Corky did have an incident with, I believe, the Red Bull of Sadie Jackie, so he was directly behind his teammate of Hines. Unfortunately, Polani, yes, I do have to agree with you. I don't know what happened between F122 and F123. It seemed like the racing on F122 in Baku was much better than it has been in F123. I don't know if the braking changed it, but the racing, unfortunately, has just not been very good here. Whether it be it where the track is just very difficult and the braking is too inconsistent. I will agree with you, Polani. This track is probably the only track that got worse. In 22, the track did feel relatively fun to drive from what I remember. And unfortunately for Timgra, due to so many safety cars, he hasn't really had an opportunity to get rid of a drive-through penalty yet. And he got that drive-through penalty on lap, like, 1 or 2. So he's lucky that usually you have 3 laps to get that drive-through removed, but because there's been so many safety cars, he's just been delayed and delayed. And it does look like the Aston Martin of Loki does not have a front wing. Am I incorrect on this? No, his front wing is completely gone. So he is going to have to pit. Luckily for him, it is a safety car. He is not going to lose anywhere near as much time. And I mean, at this point, folks, I'm not really sure what everyone's strategy is. I'd say, to tell you guys, the only drivers that are on their original race strategy are the drivers who are on 6 laps of whatever tire they are currently on. If you want a fun little tidbit, Timgra has been forced to make 4 stops, and unless I'm seeing something wrong, Timgra does not have a front wing again. So Timgra is going to have to come into the pits, change that wing, and then perform his drive-through penalty under green flag conditions. And I thought my race in Tier 1 was going badly. At least I got rid of it by crashing. Timgra's race has just been non-stop bad luck. Like, to put that into consideration, we are on lap 7 of 26, and Timgra has had to make 4 stops. Timgra has made pit stops on over 50% of our current raced laps. And he's still going to have to come in and make 2 more minimum. Timgra didn't break into turn 1. Oh boy. I think the stream ourselves have caught a couple of incidents that have happened in this race already, and I assume there's been a couple more, so it looks like the stewards for each of the tiers are going to be busy. As we say this, the safety car is in this lap. Please, gentlemen, we have had enough excitement for the first 33% of this race. No more safety cars, no more VSCs. Let's just have a nice, clean, almost 20 laps of racing. I know you guys are capable of doing it. Let's see it happen. We're on board with our race leader, Hines, who, apart from the constant safety car laps, has had a pretty dominant race so far. It doesn't seem like anyone has been able to challenge him as of yet. As they come down the main straight, and Hines goes very early this time, almost 400 meters ahead of where he went before. And it does appear like he caught out Dak Telta a little bit more than he did last time. Oh, and Dak Delta had a little bit of a moment into turn 1. He is already a 2nd and 6/10 down. Noob has a very good run. He's using his ERS a little bit. Dak Delta uses it more. He stays ahead. Timgra is finally out of the pits. His car still doesn't have a wing because he performed his... Oh, and Grayson is out of the race. He crashes at the end of turn 3. Sin has a little bit of a moment there as well. It does not look like there is a safety car. Grayson's car is already off the track. The magic marshals of Baku have somehow lifted his car off the racetrack in about 15 seconds. So no safety car. Hines already 3.6 seconds ahead of the nearest car of TAC Delta, followed by Noob, Camo, Corky, Tilwick, Tafer, Jackie, Loki, and then Sin. And Timgra, unfortunately, has had to have a complete lap with no wing because he had to serve his drive-through penalty before he can swap his wing. And here are the official position changes. Hines, the lowest position change of the race, but the most important, he is P1 from P2. TAC Delta in P2, up 4 positions, the biggest movers of the race, Noob, Camo, and Tilwick, both up 8 positions, and that is an Alpine who heavily overshot his braking point. That looks like Corky. Luckily for Corky, that's only going to lose him 1 position. That could have been a lot worse, but he has a compromised exit. Here comes Jackie, and Tilwick has gotten by. Corky down 2 positions after a compromised turn 1 and 2. That is not the result the Alpine driver wanted, considering the pace he has. And it does seem, for now, that things have slightly calmed down. After the first 9 laps of racing, everything has come to a relatively calm continuum. Tafer and Timra appear to have changed their strategies. As I open my mouth, Corky and Loki may have had some contact. It looked like Corky hit the wall, and Corky does have full wing damage. He has nothing at the front of that Alpine. And now he's a sitting duck for Loki. He puts on the defensive. Oh, and Loki appears to have hit the back of Corky because Corky had to brake much earlier to make that corner, and that is Loki without a wing now too. That is going to force both of those drivers to pit, and that is going to be a net gain positions for Sin of 2, and he doesn't even have to pass them. Oh, and Corky had a really compromised exit. That's going to put a damper on Sin through the middle. 3 wide down the straight. It appears that Loki is not going into the pit with his wing damage. Sin takes a nice safe route, does not challenge Loki into the corner, gets a much better exit. Side by side into turn 2, Sin backs off. And Loki overshoots the corner. He's going to have to back up. Terrible, terrible luck for Loki and Corky. Sin up 2 positions. As we go back to the front of the field, Hines is almost 10 seconds ahead of the nearest car of TAC Delta, Noob, Camo, Tilwick, and Sadie, all appearing to be in a DRS train of TAC Delta. Look how close all, 5 of these drivers are? And Sin, as we were singing his praises, DNFs into the corner before the castle section. And that is another full course safety car. Make that number 3 in 10 laps of racing. And Loki and Tafer both speeding under safety car. That is 2 drive-through penalties. Oh my goodness. And I got another update that Tafer got a drive-through penalty. Did he just get 2 of them? I'm hoping that's a mistake and it's just telling us again that he got a drive-through penalty. But Tafer and Loki are both going to have to come into the pits after the safety car ends. And once again, this safety car helps out Corky and Timgra as all the front runners put on their new sets of tires. Hines, Tac Delta, Noob, and Tilwick all put on the hards. Camo, the only driver who started the race on hards at the front, he is going to put on the mediums and take them the last 16 laps of this race. Camo currently on the best strategy, at least for the top 5 drivers. Can he make it count? We'll have to see. Sadie, Jackie, Loki, and Timgra both into the pits. Timgra is going to make his pit stop under safety car, so he will lose less time when he has to get his drive-through penalty done under green flag conditions. As the pit stops end, it appears that 7 out of the 10 drivers are currently on a hard strategy. And what happened here as I jumped to Jackie and Loki, it appears that both of them missed the turn 3 corner and have to do some Austin Powers 3-point turns to get out of that situation. And that is just a net 2 position gain by Jackie. It is, Polani. Everyone, those 3 guys are just, they're not seeming to have a very fun time currently. And even just Timgra and stuff. Timgra, what pit stops do we think Timgra has had to make now? Are we at 6? We are at 6 for Timgra. And he probably still has a very good chance of getting a podium position, just due to all the chaos that's happened. I think for Timgra's sake that he's probably not going to want to make another pit stop ever. I wouldn't want to if I was him. As everything calms down for the final safety car lap that we will most likely have, it appears that Tafer is into the pit lane. I believe he just made a pit stop, so I'm not sure. Oh no, he made a pit stop 3 laps ago, so is he going to put on the mediums here? He is going to put on the mediums. Smart choice. That will be able to take him to the end of the race very easily. Unfortunately for the bottom 2 drivers of Loki and Tafer, they will have to make drive-through pit stops while the safety car goes in for green. With all the chaos happening, we haven't really been able to sing the praises much of our P1 driver currently, but Hines has just been putting on a clinic at the front of the field. Last time I checked, he was 10 seconds ahead of Tac Delta before our current safety car came out, and he was only racing for 3 laps. Tac Delta, without the DRS being implemented with all the safety cars, has performed masterfully in keeping basically everyone else behind him. At this point, I don't even want to know, but do I dare ask any of you in the chat for predictions? Because at this point, I don't think we can make any sort of confirmed guess. I'd say the only safe guess is that unless Hines has a massive mistake, this is his race to lose. Safety car is in this lap. With the start of this lap, we will be officially halfway through Tier 2's race at Baku City Circuit. Will there be any more safety cars? Will there be more VSCs? Will there be more crashes? Will there be more incidents? Your guess is as good as mine at this point. Hines backs up the field as we wait for him to launch to restart this race once again. And once again, Hines going even earlier than he did the second time around. He does not catch out Tack, but everyone else did. And it almost looked like Noob passed Camo before the start straight. I'm not sure if he did, if he gave it back right before the line, but Noob is now net P3. Loki and Tafer will both have to come in for their drive-through penalties, I assume, this lap. Timgra did not seem to have a very good restart. He is down still in P8, apart from being probably the second fastest driver on track right now. As we go through, once again, Hines showing his pace, again up second and 6/10 above the second place driver of Tack Delta. Tack, however, still keeping Noob, Camo, and Tilwick well behind. If we do get a chance to get DRS, I'm not sure Tack will be able to defend as well as he has been. And it does seem like Timgra may have had a little bit of a moment through one of the sectors, because Loki is now past him. At the end of the day, that will not matter too much, because Loki and Tafer will have to pit to get rid of those drive-through penalties. But Timgra, I'm not sure what has happened to his pace, but he's just well behind the rest of the pack. And we have a pass by Jackie. He gets by Corky, challenging his teammate Tilwick, who seems to may have let him by. And that is Jackie up 2 positions from where he started. And Tafer gets a 5-second time penalty. And we have a car around. That is Tack Delta. What a terrible result for him. He was having an unbelievable drive. And now he is down in P8 with no front left end plate. He is going to have to pit for a different tire. And Tafer picks up another 5-second time penalty for crossing the pit lane exit line. As we head back to the front, Hines is putting on the clinic once again, almost 4 seconds ahead. And we may have an incident. Timgra is around. His unfortunes continue. This has just not been the race that Timgra was hoping for at the end of qualifying, where he qualified ahead of Hines by just 2 thousandths of a second. As Hines continues to pull away, Noob, Camo, and Jackie are all decently, they're very close to within DRS range of each other. Same for Corky. This may be as I say that, Jackie smashes into the left-hand wall coming out of the fast chicane, and that is his race over. And it does not look like there is going to be a safety car. And Tilwick heads into the pits. It looks like he's going to put on a new pair of mediums. And just like that, we are now down to 9 drivers. And now that potential 4-way battle is down to 3, and Noob has no front wing. So that is net P2 for Camo, and Corky is going to jump all over Noob as we go through the castle section here. And Tafer with another 5-second time penalty for crossing the pit lane exit line. Unbelievably, Noob has managed to keep the car still a decent margin ahead of Corky, but he is going to have to pit and get that changed. Apparently for... Oh, and he has a terrible exit. Oh, a little bit of contact as Corky tries to get by Noob. Noob's trying to get into the pit lane, and Corky was on his outside. Didn't expect him to have such a good run. And that is Noob into the pit lane. No speeding penalty for him. Hines almost 6 seconds ahead of Camo. Camo currently is on the better tire as we speak. Can Corky pull within Camo and give Alpine a potential 1-2 finish here? As more pit stops continue to happen after Loki's misfortune of getting a drive-through penalty under safety car, he is now net P5, followed by Noob, who just had to change for his wing. He is P6. Tilwick P7, and unfortunately the AlphaTauris of Timgra and Tafer have just not had the result that they wanted. And as I say that, Timgra just had a little bit of a moment there. As we have a pass on track, Loki was compromised through the slow chicane, and that is a Noob up a position. And it looks like Camo does have some very strong pace. He is now 2.6 seconds ahead of Corky when it was 1.6 almost a lap ago. Both of them are at similar ERS levels. And we have a caution flag. It appears that Timgra had a little bit of a moment. It does not look like his car has any damage, though, so he continues. And I have just realized that Tafer has picked up 18 seconds of time penalties. Now, that won't really affect him at the end of the race, due to him being in last position on track. And Timgra has a spin going into the fast left-hander after the fast chicane, and he is again trying to Austin Powers that car around. I don't know what has happened to Timgra. Something isn't clicking with his setup, I assume. But that is going to be another forced pit stop for Timgra, I believe. That is going to put him at 7 stops for the race. Yeah, Timgra may have some rear wing damage or some side pod damage. Even at this point though, and Timgra does retire from the session, I understand the frustration, but even if he finished the race in the position he is, that is 9th place guaranteed points. Unfortunate for the AlphaTauri drivers, just not the race that they wanted. As we go up to the back, or the front of the field, Hines almost 7.5 seconds ahead of Camo. Camo has been able to maintain the gap to Corky at around 2.5 seconds. Tac Delta, who was having a phenomenal race, still in a very good position of P4 as he was holding P2 down for basically half the race. Noob, who had an unfortunate wing incident, is now in P5, who may be able to catch down TAC Delta. We will see how that goes. Loki, who also had a couple of incidents this race, he is P6. Tilwick, who we have not really seen much of, hasn't really been in any incidents from what I've seen, but he has just kept the car on track without any damage. He has had 3 stops, but he is still net P7 and holding off Tafer, and even if Tafer is quicker than him, Tafer is not going to be able to pull 18 seconds worth of penalties ahead of Tilwick. If anyone's curious on how fast our leader is currently running, he is on 7-lap old hards, and he is setting personal best sectors. And it seems like Camo has had a little bit of a moment. He's lost almost 2 seconds now to Hines, and is that right front end plate damage? It is. And that is going to make it way harder for him to even attempt to defend against Corky. As I say that, Corky just slams into the left-hand barrier. No damage to that Alpine. But he is going to lose a lot of time to Camo. I don't know how that car did not get any damage. But Camo makes the safe decision, hops into the pit lane. He's going to throw on softs, potentially go for fastest lap. And that is now a Alpine 1 and 2. And now TAC Delta is just ahead of Camo. Same for Noob. Camo does not appear to have any fresh softs, so he's going to have to put on fresh mediums and attempt to chase down the Ferrari of Noob Plays and the Williams of TAC Delta. Camo did seem to have very strong pace. I don't doubt he might be able to catch these 2 drivers ahead, but the laps are ticking down. And it appears Loki has come into the pits for fresh softs as well. That is going to put him net P8, but with Tafer's penalties, that will put him back into P7. As I say that, a 5-second time penalty for Loki for crossing the pit lane exit line. It seems that that pit lane exit line has caught out a couple of drivers this race. But even with that 5-second time penalty, Tafer still has 13 more seconds of time penalties on a track where you would think would be very difficult to even gain time penalties. As we look on lap 20, these are the official position changes. As you see, everyone running has gained a position, at least one, and everyone who has DNF has lost a position. So you could say that the drivers currently running have driven the best out of everyone here. They have kept their cars on track. They have kept their cars in the race. And even P8 being the lowest position, or being the lowest point gain of the race, that is still amazing points, considering the unluckiness that almost everyone in this race, apart from Hines, has dealt with. Looking back at it, I believe Corky has had incidents, TAC has had incidents, Noob has had incidents, Camo had an incident very recently. Tilwick may not have had any incidents from what we've seen. Tafer has had terrible luck with the pit lane. Loki had a couple of incidents. So even with pretty unlucky races from basically all the drivers continuing to race right now, they're all going to gain very, very important points into their championship hunt. Namely, this man in P1, his championship rival of Kev King, who has won both of the races so far in Tier 2, is not present in today's race. So this is the kind of result that Alpine has been looking for. Hines in P1 and Corky in P2, who is gaining a decent amount of points. Unfortunately, Jackie, you will not gain position, or you will not gain points, because you did not reach the 90% threshold of the race. And there appears to have been an incident with Tafer, maybe, and Loki. I'm not sure what happened there, but Tafer went around. Loki is through. Now, even looking at these positions here, gentlemen, with the amount of incidents that have happened this race, and as I'm speaking, we have a three-way car race down the main straight. Camo, Tac, Delta, and Noob. As I said, I thought Camo had very good pace. He just caught both drivers that passed him through the pit lane in about a lap. Amazing recovery for Camo, and Tac, Delta, and Noob are going to appear to race in their own little race. Noob has no ERS left in that Ferrari. Tac Delta kept plenty of ERS, almost at 30%. He stays ahead of the Ferrari. And Camo is flying this lap. He's up 7/10 on his fastest lap. He may be able to challenge Hines for fastest lap here. Speaking of, do we know who has fastest lap? We do, actually. Noob has the fastest lap with a 1:46.7. Hines, surprisingly, does not have fastest lap of the race. Let's stay online with Camo here. I'm curious if he's going to be able to get fastest lap here. He has plenty of ERS. If he wants to get it done, slap on that ERS and see if he can gain more time down the straight. Oh, a little bit of contact with the wall on the left for Camo. It doesn't look like his car got damaged. It was all wheel. Oh, he is using up that ERS. He's going for it. Is he going to get it? It's going to be close. A 1:45.7 for Camo. That is fastest lap of the race. Unless someone pits for fresh softs, that looks like that is going to be our fastest lap of the race. Now, Corky has been taking off a little bit of time of Hines here and there. He was around 12 seconds behind his teammate around 4 or 5 laps ago. He's down to 9.4. Now, even if he was gaining a second a lap on his teammate ahead of him, he just doesn't have enough time to make any sort of comeback against his teammate. So unless something happens to Hines, Corky will have to unfortunately deal with P2. Tac, Delta, and Noob are still going at it. From what I've seen, the racing has been very clean. It does seem that Tac Delta has way better straight line speed than Noob, but Noob seems to have that extra bit of downforce that allows him to gain so much time through the corners. As we see here, even down that small straightaway, Tac Delta gained almost a second, and here comes Noob with the extra downforce. Tac Delta parks the car in the middle of the track. Great defensive driving from Tac Delta. Noob could not get the car by, and let's see how much straight line speed Tac Delta really has. He's at 3/10. He's at 2/10. He pumps the ERS. Noob has none either. And look at that time go up for Tac Delta. 5/10, 6/10, almost at 7/10. Are we going to get to 8/10? We are. Tac Delta gaining almost 6/10 down that long straightaway. That's showing the difference of what kind of setup that Williams and that Ferrari has. And and Tac has a little bit of a moment. Noob is on him, but unfortunately he has no ERS. Neither does Tac, though. Noob has the DRS. Even with DRS, he can't get by that Williams straight line monster, but Noob manages to get by. What unbelievable driving from these two. Unfortunately for Tack, he was just unable to keep the car at any kind of pace through the corners. As you can see, the time gained by Noob through the corners is almost 1 or 2/10 for each corner that they're going through. Regardless of Noob or Tack Delta losing that position, he has driven an unbelievable race. He was parking the car in the middle of the track through half the race, keeping everyone behind him for P2. Unfortunately, he did seem to get tapped by someone, losing those positions. But he's not given up yet. He's only a second and a bit behind, and he gains incredible speed through the straights. Has a little bit of a wobble through there. Oh, it's just the time that Delta loses through the corners is too much. Now, if we look at the detail of the tires, Tag Delta is on 12-lap-old hard, so they're not exactly fresh. Noob with 7-lap-old mediums, much quicker. But you can see the time that Tag Delta makes up down the straight. That's almost a second. And then he just loses 4 or 5 tenths as he goes through each corner. It's a real highlight of the different types of setups that these two drivers are running. And as I said, Corky has brought down the gap to his teammate to 7.5 seconds. He does seem to be relatively quicker than his teammate, but like I said, unfortunately, don't think he's going to have enough time to really do anything. Oh, and a heartbreak for Camo. Crashes into the castle section. He was having an unbelievable race. And that is his race over. What heartbreak for Camo. Easy podium position for him, and unfortunately pushed it too hard into the castle section. And that is Camo's race over. I do believe that Camo finished 90% of the race, so he still will get P8 on points, but a heartbreak for him. He was driving an unbelievable race. Unfortunately, Camo did pull an I am stupid moment. He took over his inner Charles Leclerc, and he just drove it straight into that wall. That castle section is not an easy part of the track to deal with. And all of a sudden, even with Noob having terrible luck throughout basically most of this race, he is now in a podium position. And Tac Delta, unfortunately, probably shaking his head even more. Now that he's down almost 5 seconds to Noob, and he is not going to be able to make up that time. And this is another instant where, for example, if Timgra stayed in the race, while the AlphaTauri drivers have had nowhere near a good race, or with any kind of luck, but they would have had a 7 and 8 finish, which is still very vital points for the Constructors' Championship. Corky has taken another around 5 tenths off his teammate, but unfortunately, he's just not going to have enough time to catch his teammate. As we start the final lap of the race, let's turn off all of this garbage as we watch our race leader, Hines, do his final lap of the race with his teammate in the background. And as Hines rounds the final chicane of the race, an unbelievable effort from the Alpine driver. It looked like him and Timgra were going to battle the entire race, but Timgra, with his unfortunes, could not keep up. The Alpine driver of Hines takes the victory at Baku, with Corky behind 6.6 seconds. That is a 1-2 finish for the Alpine drivers. An unbelievable result for that team. As Noob enters the final chicane, he did not look like he was going to be anywhere near a podium position this race. Started at the back of the field with no qualifying lap set. Luckily for him, his confidence stayed with him. That is podium for Noob Plies in the Ferrari. Tac Delta coming down the final straight. An unbelievable drive from the Williams driver as well. Put on an absolute showing of defense. That is a well-deserved P4 for him. And we will have to wait a little bit longer for our P5 driver of Tilwick, who does not seem to have had any kind of incidents this race, has just driven his own race, kept it out of the walls, has had enough pace to get himself a well-deserved P5 in the Red Bull. That is a well-deserved race for Tilwick. And our final driver to cross the line, Loki, with his unfortunes, is still going to grab a very respectable P6 position in the Aston Martin. And that is Baku, Tier 2, finally finished. An almost hour-and-a-half race come to an end. Driver of the day, Loki G. I think even with Camo's unfortunate crash into the castle section, he is my driver of the day, alongside Tac Delta, who both drove incredible races, kept drivers that realistically were probably faster than them behind them for a long time. And that, even with the safety cars and VSCs, was a very fun race to watch and commentate on. As the Alpine drivers celebrate alongside Noob, we will jump to the timing screens. Here are the final results. Hines and Corky finish off the 1-2 with the Alpines. Noob Plies in the Ferrari finishes off the podium. Tac Delta and the Williams will take P4. Tilwick P5 in the Red Bull. Loki in the Aston Martin. And Tafer in the AlphaTauri finish off the drivers who finished the race. Luckily for Camo Banana, as he finished 90% of the race, he will still receive points for 8th position, but it was looking much better for him as he had the fastest lap and P3 locked in. Unfortunately, the rest of the field, Timgra, Jackie, Sin, Grayson, Monkey, Canuck, were unable to finish the race due to multiple incidents. And that is Tier 2 of Baku officially finished. Whew. Now, as usual, I will attempt to see if any of our podium drivers will join me for interviews. For those who are still with us, I am waiting on the response from our podium drivers of Hines, Corky, and New Plays. I will attempt to conduct some interviews with them, as I know a bunch of these drivers do have lives, so sometimes they aren't able to make it. Great racing from you today, Camo. You deserved a much better result than the one you got. I wish you good luck next week at Jeddah. Well, I do believe we have waited long enough, so unfortunately it does not seem like we will have any interviews tonight for round 3 at Baku for Tier 2. I would like to thank everyone who joined in to watch the stream. A big thanks. Hopefully the commentary, even alone, was up to par. And before we end, I'll ask anyone watching if they would like to ask any questions about the race or about anything coming forward. And if not, that will be the end of this stream for PLR Season 8, Round 3, Tier 2 at Baku. Alright, that will be it from me, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you all once again for joining me for Baku Tier 2. I will see you all again next week, this upcoming Sunday, as Tier 2 tackles the fast flying circuit of Jeddah in Abu Dhabi. Once again, thank you for joining me, and I wish you all a very good afternoon/evening wherever you're living. And until next time, I will see you all later.